The sky over Washington, D.C. turned purple on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. People stopped in the streets to stare as the massive ship hovered above the White House. It wasn't like the movies. No chaos, no immediate attack. The ship just waited there, silent and still, for 3 days. John Miller watched the news from his small apartment. At 42, the former Marine captain had seen enough combat to last several lifetimes. Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen. 15 years of service had left him with a metal knee, scars across his back, and nightmares that still woke him sweating. He switched off the TV and poured another coffee. Whatever those aliens wanted, it wouldn't be his problem. He was wrong. The phone rang at 0600 the next morning. A voice he didn't recognize told him a car would arrive in 30 minutes. "The President requests your presence, Captain Miller." "I'm retired," John said. "Not anymore," the voice replied. "The aliens called themselves the Galactic Alliance. There were 7 different species working together, united against something they called the Voidborn Collective. Representatives from each species sat around a large table in a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon. John tried not to stare at them. General Harris spoke first. "Captain Miller, these visitors have made us an offer. They want soldiers." The tallest alien stood. It had blue skin stretched over a thin frame, with 4 arms and eyes that seemed too large for its face. "I am Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Alliance Fleet," it said in perfect English. "We have observed your species for some time. You have qualities we need." "What qualities?" John asked. A second alien stepped forward. This one looked almost like a cat standing on 2 legs. "I am Science Officer Nevra. Your species possesses unique combat capabilities we have not seen elsewhere in the galaxy." John laughed. "We're not that special. We're not the strongest or fastest species even on our own planet. Yet you dominate it," Nevra said. "This is precisely why we are here." The meeting lasted hours. The Alliance needed soldiers for their war against the Voidborn, a species from another galaxy that consumed everything in its path. In exchange for human fighters, Earth would receive technology, protection, and a place in the Alliance. "We're not mercenaries," General Harris said firmly. "We are not asking you to be," Zixtal replied. "We are inviting you to be allies." 2 weeks later, John found himself in charge of selecting 500 human soldiers for a trial program. The Alliance wanted to see how humans performed in their war. If they proved valuable, more would be requested. On the other side of the Pentagon, Lisa Grant examined alien tissue samples through her microscope. At 36, she was one of the country's top xenobiologists, though until 3 weeks ago that field had been theoretical. Now she was comparing alien muscle fibers to human ones, trying to understand what made humans special in the eyes of these visitors. "Dr. Grant, have you found anything interesting?" asked her assistant Ben. Lisa looked up from her microscope. "That's the thing. By every measure, we're unremarkable. The Krull species has muscles 3 times denser than ours. The Mierans can move twice as fast as our Olympic sprinters. The Voxians have natural armor plating." She pointed to her notes. "Yet Commander Zixtal insists that humans have combat advantages they desperately need." The selection process was difficult. John wanted a mix of veterans and active duty, from all branches of the military. The Alliance had agreed to take medical personnel too, which is how Dr. Peter Collins ended up on the roster. The young army. Doctor had field experience in Syria and spoke 3 languages. Sergeant Frank Diaz was an easy choice. The 30-year-old had served under John in Afghanistan. He could hit a target at 1,000 yards and keep his team together through anything. Corporal Amy Rodriguez came highly recommended by the Marines. At 25, she had already broken most physical endurance records. The recruits gathered at Andrews Air Force Base. 500 men and women stood in formation, watching as the Alliance transport ship landed. It was smaller than the diplomatic vessel over D.C., but still impressive, sleek and silver with no visible engines. "Listen up," John called out. "We're about to make history. First humans to leave the solar system. First humans to fight alongside aliens. Some of you may not come back." He paused. But what we do here will change Earth forever. We're not just soldiers anymore. We're representatives of our entire species. Commander Zixtal approached him as the troops boarded. Captain Miller, you seem concerned. You still haven't fully explained why you want us, John replied. What makes humans special? The alien made a gesture that might have been a smile. We have fought the Voidborn for 300 years. We have better technology, stronger soldiers, faster ships. Yet we lose ground every year. And you think humans will change that? We have studied your history, Captain. No species we have encountered fights like yours. You continue when logic says to surrender. You adapt when training says to follow protocol. You form bonds with unrelated individuals and die for them without hesitation. Zixtal looked at the soldiers boarding the ship. Most species in the galaxy are specialists. Humans are different. The journey to Proxima Station took 3 days in the Alliance ship. Lisa spent most of it studying the vessel's medical bay with Dr. Collins. The technology was beyond anything they had seen. Machines that could repair damaged organs, scanners that could detect microscopic changes in body chemistry. Why didn't they just build robot soldiers? Peter asked as they examined a tissue regenerator. Apparently they tried, Lisa replied. The Voidborn found a way to control any artificial intelligence they encountered. Only biological soldiers can fight them effectively. John spent the journey learning about Alliance military structure from Nevra. Each species had specific roles based on their natural abilities. The rhinoceros-like Krull served as heavy infantry. The quick Myarans were scouts and assassins. The heavily armored Voxians formed defensive lines. Where will humans fit? John asked. That is what we will discover, Nevra replied. As the ship approached Proxima Station, John gathered his officers in the briefing room. Through the viewport, they could see the massive space station, a rotating ring surrounding a central hub, with ships of various sizes docked around it. This is it, he told them. First contact was just the beginning, now comes the real test. Frank Diaz looked out at the alien structure. They really expect us to make a difference in their war? Apparently, John replied. Let's show them what humans can do. The transport ship docked with a soft thud. The humans gathered their gear, ready to disembark into an entirely new world. As the airlock door began to open, John took a deep breath. Humanity's greatest adventure, and perhaps its greatest challenge, was about to begin. Proxima Station was massive. The central hub alone could fit several aircraft carriers inside it. John led his troops through wide corridors filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some had too many limbs, others too few. Some floated rather than walked. The humans tried not to stare, but it was hard. Welcome to Basic Training Sector, said Krelvor, their new instructor. He was a Krull, almost 8 feet tall with thick gray skin that looked like armor. His head resembled an Earth rhinoceros, complete with a small horn on his nose. You humans will train here for 60 days before deployment. The barracks assigned to the humans were designed for a different species. The beds were too short and the ceiling too low. The air smelled slightly of sulfur. Not exactly the Hilton, Frank said as he claimed a bunk. We're not here for comfort, John reminded everyone. We're here to learn how to fight alongside the Alliance. The first week was brutal. Alliance training focused on each species' natural strengths. The problem was, compared to the other races, humans didn't seem to have any. On the obstacle course, the cat-like Myarans leaped 20 feet in a single bound, while humans struggled with standard jumps. In strength tests, the Krull lifted weights that would crush a human. Even in marksmanship, the three-eyed Tellurian species outperformed humans with their natural ability to calculate distance and wind speed. Krelvor didn't hide his disappointment. You humans are soft, he told John after watching the troops run drills. No natural weapons, no armor, no special senses. I do not understand why Command wanted you here. Lisa Grant observed from the science deck above the training floor. She was recording human performance data alongside Nevra. Your assessment is too simple, Lisa told the science officer. Look at Amy Rodriguez. She's been training for 6 hours without a break. Nevra tilted her head. The Myarans can train for 8. But they need 2 days to recover afterward, Lisa pointed out. Humans can do this day after day with minimal rest. The training shifted to endurance tests on day 10. The troops were sent on a 30-mile march through the station's environmental simulation deck, which had been programmed to mimic the harsh desert conditions of a planet called Torva the Four. Halfway through, Corporal Rodriguez fell into a hidden pit and broke her ankle. The Krull medics arrived quickly with a stretcher, but she waved them away. "I can walk," she said, pulling herself up. "Impossible," the medic replied. "Your bone is fractured." Amy gritted her teeth and fashioned a makeshift splint from her gear. "Watch me." She completed the remaining 15 miles on a broken ankle. By the end, several alien observers had gathered to watch the injured human soldier who refused to stop. Krelvor's attitude changed slightly after that. "Perhaps you have some use after all," he told John that evening. "Your soldiers continue when logic says to stop." In the lab, Lisa was making discoveries of her own. "Look at these thermal scans," she showed Peter as they examined the data. "Humans regulate body temperature more efficiently than any Alliance species. We sweat, which none of them do. So we don't overheat in combat," Peter nodded. "That's something. And look at these pain response charts," Lisa continued. "Humans can temporarily ignore pain signals that would incapacitate other species." The second week brought weapons training. Alliance energy weapons were designed for specific physiologies. The heavy pulse rifles fit the Krull's four-fingered hands. The precision lasers worked perfectly with the Tellurian's third eye. Nothing seemed built for humans. Lieutenant Kelly Winters, a former Army engineer, studied the weapons during breaks. On the third day, she approached John with a modified pulse rifle. "Sir, I made some adjustments," she said, handing him the weapon. "I rewired the grip sensors and changed the balance point." John tested it on the range. His score jumped from 60% to 95% accuracy. "How did you do this?" Kelly shrugged. "Just applied some basic engineering. Their technology is advanced, but the principles are the same." Word spread quickly. Soon all the human troops were modifying their assigned weapons to fit human hands and reflexes. The Alliance instructors were confused at first, then impressed. "No other species alters their equipment," Nevra told Lisa as they watched. "They either use what they're given or request new designs." "Humans adapt," Lisa replied. "It's what we do best." The cultural differences became more apparent as training progressed. During a simulated battle, Private Steve Johnson was hit by a training round that delivered a painful shock. Instead of showing distress, he laughed and kept fighting. The alien observers were disturbed. "Is he malfunctioning?" one asked. "No," John explained later. "Humans sometimes laugh when in pain or danger. It's a stress response." "Most curious," Nevra noted. "Your species uses humor as a combat tool." By the fourth week, the humans had formed effective training units that combined their various military backgrounds. Former Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force personnel shared techniques and tactics, creating a hybrid fighting style that confused the Alliance instructors. "You do not follow standard protocols," Krelvor complained after watching a squad exercise. "We improvise," Frank explained. "Different situation, different approach." The Alliance combat doctrine was rigid, with each species having specific roles based on their natural abilities. Humans refused to be categorized so easily. Former snipers learned close combat. Engineers practiced field medicine. Everyone trained on multiple weapon systems. Lisa's research was yielding interesting results. "Human hand-eye coordination is exceptional," she reported to the Alliance science team. "We can't match the strength of a Krull or the speed of a Mieran, but we can perform complex manual tasks with greater precision than either." This explained why humans excelled at operating the Alliance's more complex equipment. Human pilots quickly mastered the simulation pods, outperforming seasoned Alliance pilots in agility tests, if not raw speed. The fifth week brought survival training. Mixed species teams were dropped into a hostile environment simulation with minimal supplies. The objective was to survive for 5 days and reach an extraction point. Team 3 contained John, Frank, Amy, her ankle now healed, 2 Krull warriors, and a Tellurian scout. They were deployed to a simulated swamp world with toxic air and predatory life forms. On the second day, their shelter was destroyed by a flash flood. The Krull warriors became disoriented in the water, their heavy bodies struggling to stay afloat. Without hesitation, the humans dove in to save them, fashioning flotation devices from vegetation and pulling the aliens to safety. "Why risk yourselves?" asked Grawl, one of the Krull. "We are not your species." "We're a team," John said simply. "We don't leave anyone behind." This concept, putting team survival above species loyalty, was foreign to most Alliance races. Their hierarchies were based on species first, then rank. Humans operated differently. By the end of the training cycle, Alliance commanders were taking notice. Human adaptability, endurance, and teamwork made them uniquely suited for certain missions. They couldn't match the raw strength or speed of other species, but they could fight effectively in conditions that would cripple most Alliance troops. Commander Zixtal visited the training facility on the final day. The human troops demonstrated their modified fighting techniques and equipment adaptations. "I'm satisfied," he told John afterward. "Your species will join the next deployment to Frontier Outpost Delta 9. The Voidborn have been attacking it for months." "Are we ready?" John asked. "No one is ever ready for the Voidborn," Zixtal replied. "But of all the species I have seen train here, yours adapts the fastest. You will need that skill where you are going." As the human contingent prepared for their first real combat mission, Lisa gathered her research findings. Her report to Alliance High Command was titled, "Human Combat Effectiveness: The Advantage of Being Unspecialized." The troops boarded the transport ships with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They were about to face an enemy unlike anything they had encountered on Earth. But they would face it together, as humans always had. Frontier Outpost Delta 9 orbited a gas giant at the edge of Alliance space. It was a small station compared to Proxima, built for defense rather than comfort. As the human troops disembarked from their transport ships, they saw the signs of recent attacks: scorched walls, hastily repaired hull breaches, and tired soldiers of various species. "Welcome to the front lines," said Station Commander Vral, a tall Voxian with natural armor plates covering his blue skin. "The Voidborn attacked 3 times in the past month. We expect them again soon." John led his officers on a tour of the station's defenses. The main weapons were powerful but fixed in position. Fighter ships sat ready in launch bays designed for different alien physiologies. The station had 6 defensive rings, each serving as a fallback position if the outer ones were breached. "Your human troops will support Ring 4, Viral explained. "Stay behind the Krull heavy infantry. Provide covering fire only when ordered," Frank frowned. "We're capable of more than support roles." "Perhaps on your world," Viral replied. "Here, each species serves where they are most effective. Humans have not proven themselves in actual combat against the Voidborn." Lisa and Peter set up in the medical bay, working alongside alien doctors to prepare for casualties. The Alliance medical technology was impressive, but designed around alien biology. They spent hours adapting protocols for human patients. "The Voidborn use energy weapons that disrupt neural pathways," explained a Tellurian doctor named Seeker. "For most species, this causes complete paralysis. We don't know how humans will react." "We'll find out soon enough," Peter said grimly. The cow. Alarm sounded 3 days later. Red lights flashed throughout the station as troops rushed to battle stations. John watched the tactical displays as enemy ships appeared from the darkness of space. They were black, with jagged edges that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "All units to defensive positions," ordered Commander Viral over the station's communication system. "Krull units forward. Supporting species maintain formation." The humans took their assigned positions in Ring 4, far from the outer hull where the fighting would start. John checked in with his squad leaders via comlink. "Stay sharp," he told them. "We may not be on the front line, but we need to be ready." The station shuddered as the first Voidborn weapons hit the outer shields. On the tactical displays, John watched as Alliance fighters engaged the enemy ships. The Voidborn vessels moved. Strangely, as if not fully solid, making them difficult targets. "Breach in Ring 1, came a panicked report. "Voidborn boarding parties detected." The tactical display showed the first line of defense falling quickly. The Voidborn moved faster than expected, overwhelming the Mieran scouts and pushing toward Ring 2. Lisa monitored the battle from the medical bay, which was already receiving wounded. The injuries were unlike anything she had seen. Soldiers with blackened skin where energy weapons had hit them, others with vacant expressions as their neural pathways were scrambled. "Ring 2 breached," announced the station's AI. "All Ring 3 units engage." John watched as the battle moved closer to their position. The Krull heavy infantry units were fighting valiantly in Ring 3, but reports indicated they were being flanked by Voidborn that had found a maintenance shaft. "Sir," Frank said urgently, pointing to the tactical display. "Krull Unit 7 is cut off. They'll be surrounded in minutes." John studied the map. Unit 7 was trapped between two Voidborn advance teams with no retreat path to Ring 4. "Commander." "Vral," John called over the comm. "Request permission to assist Krull Unit 7. "Negative," came the reply. "Maintain your position. Ring 4 must be held." John looked at Frank, then at the rest of his officers. They all knew what he was thinking. "We're going," John decided. "Squad Alpha and Bravo with me. Charlie and Delta maintain position here." "Disobeying direct orders, sir?" Amy asked with a slight smile. "It's a human specialty," John replied. They moved quickly through the station corridors, following emergency routes toward Ring 3. The sounds of battle grew louder, the high-pitched whine of energy weapons and the deeper boom of Krull heavy guns. "Form up," John ordered as they reached the battle zone. "Standard human tactics. Teams of 3, watch your angles, protect your teammates." The scene in Ring 3 was chaos. Krull warriors fought in tight formation against shadowy figures that moved with unnatural speed. The Voidborn were roughly humanoid but seemed to shift and flow like liquid darkness. Their weapons fired pulses of energy that left black burns where they hit. "Bravo team, left flank," John ordered. "Alpha with me, straight up the middle. Let's get to Unit 7. The humans moved into battle, using tactics they had developed during training. While the Alliance forces fought in rigid formations, the humans spread out, using cover and coordinated fire to advance steadily toward the trapped Krull unit. A Voidborn fighter appeared in front of Amy. It was taller than a human, with limbs that bent in wrong directions and no visible face beneath its shifting, shadowy helm. She fired 3 quick shots from her modified pulse rifle, dropping it before it could raise its weapon. "They're fast but predictable," she called out. "They don't expect targets to move after shooting." The humans adjusted instantly, adopting a fire-and-move approach that confused the Voidborn. One human would fire, attracting attention, while others moved to new positions and attacked from unexpected angles. In the command center, Commander Vral watched in shock as the tactical display showed human forces pushing deep into Ring 3. "They abandoned their posts," he said angrily. "No," replied Nevra, who had accompanied the human contingent to observe them. "They saw allies in danger and adapted their mission parameters." The battle intensified as the humans reached Krull, Unit 7. The massive aliens had formed a circle facing outward, but were being worn down by repeated Voidborn attacks. "Captain Miller?" The Krull commander seemed surprised. "We received no word of reinforcements." "We didn't wait for permission," John replied, directing his troops to strengthen the Krull formation. "Let's get you out of here." The combined human Krull unit began fighting its way back toward Ring 4. The humans' mobile tactics complemented the Krull's strength and endurance, creating an effective fighting force. Then disaster struck. A Voidborn energy blast hit the station's power distribution node. Lights flickered and died throughout Rings 3 and 4. Communications went dead. In the sudden darkness, most Alliance units froze, waiting for orders that couldn't come. The command structure had collapsed without central coordination, but the humans kept fighting. Each squad operated independently, using hand signals and prearranged tactics. They deployed portable lights from their kits, illuminating sections of corridor to create killing zones for the light-sensitive Voidborn. "Form up, defensive retreat," John ordered his nearby troops. Squad leaders take initiative. Get everyone back to Ring 4. The humans not only continued their own retreat, but helped organize the confused alien allies around them. Frank took charge of a mixed group of Krull and Tellurian troops, leading them through maintenance tunnels to bypass void-borne concentrations. In the medical bay, emergency power kept critical systems running. Lisa and Peter worked frantically to treat wounded from multiple species. When a wounded void-borne was brought in, captured rather than killed, Lisa immediately began scanning it, despite protests from alien medical staff. "Know your enemy," she said, recording data about void-borne physiology. "This could help us fight them better." The battle raged for 6 more hours. Without central command, most Alliance units fought defensively, giving ground steadily. But the human squads organized into an effective resistance, using guerrilla tactics and improvised weapons to slow the void-borne advance. When main power and communications were finally restored, Commander Vral was shocked to find humans leading the counterattack, pushing the void-borne back through Ring 3. John had organized a mixed-species strike force that exploited the specific strengths of each alien type within a flexible human tactical framework. "Forward!" John shouted, leading a charge that broke through a void-borne defensive position. "Push them back to their entry points." By the time the battle ended, the station was secured. The void-borne retreated to their ships and jumped away into deep space. The cost had been high. Dozens of Alliance troops dead, more wounded, and significant damage to the station infrastructure. In the command center, Commander Viral faced John with a mixture of anger and respect. "You disobeyed direct orders, Captain Miller." "I did," John acknowledged, "to save Krull Unit 7 and subsequently help defend this station." "Your actions were unexpected," Viral admitted, "but effective. The Voidborn have never been driven back so decisively before." Nevra was already collecting battle data, interviewing human troops about their experiences. "How did you continue fighting without communications?" she asked Frank. "We train for that," he explained. "Small unit leadership. Each squad can operate independently if needed." As the station began repairs, word spread quickly about the humans' performance. Other species approached them with questions, curious about their tactics and adaptability. "Perhaps," Commander Vral told John later, "we have been fighting this war incorrectly. Your species brings a different perspective." John nodded, watching. As human and alien troops worked side by side on repairs, Sharon, news of the successful defense of Outpost Delta 9 spread quickly through Alliance space. The human fighters who had disobeyed orders, rescued their allies, and pushed back the Voidborn became the talk of the Galactic military. Alliance High Command requested detailed reports and battle footage. 2 months after the battle, the human contingent had grown to 3,000. New soldiers arrived from Earth weekly, eager to join what was now called the Human Combat Initiative. The original 500 veterans trained the newcomers, sharing their experiences and the lessons they had learned. John stood on an observation deck aboard the Alliance flagship, watching as mixed-species training exercises took place in the wide hangar below. Human soldiers worked alongside Krull, Mirren, and Tellurian troops, teaching them human tactics while learning alien fighting styles. "Impressive progress," said Commander Zixtal, joining him at the viewport. "Your methods are spreading throughout our forces." "It's not just our methods," John replied. "It's the philosophy behind them. Adaptability over specialization. Initiative over blind obedience." The Alliance was changing its approach to the war. For centuries, they had fought the Voidborn using highly specialized units and rigid command structures. Now they were adopting human elements. Empowered small unit leadership, cross-training between specialties, and tactical flexibility. In the flagship's research wing, Lisa worked with a team of alien scientists. Her study of the captured Voidborn had yielded important discoveries. "Their neural structure is unlike anything in our galaxy," she explained to the assembled research team. "They don't communicate as individuals but as cells in a larger organism." This information had helped Alliance forces develop new tactics. Disrupting Voidborn communication patterns caused confusion in their ranks. It was the first real advantage the Alliance had gained in decades of war. The Voidborn, however, were adapting too. Their next attack came not with weapons, but with disease. The first cases appeared on Centauri Prime, an Alliance agricultural world. Workers collapsed in the fields, their skin turning gray as their organs shut down. Within weeks, the plague had spread to 6 systems, affecting multiple species. Alliance medical teams were overwhelmed. "It's engineered," Peter told John during an emergency briefing. "A bioweapon designed to target specific proteins common in mammalian species." "Can you stop it?" John asked. Peter looked grim. "Not alone, but I have an idea." Earth had faced countless epidemics throughout its history. Humans had developed medical technology specifically designed to combat rapidly mutating diseases. Peter proposed combining human medical knowledge with Alliance technology to create a countermeasure. High Command approved the plan immediately. The death toll was rising by the hour. Lisa joined Peter's medical team, working day and night in the flagship's laboratories. They faced a critical challenge. The plague affected each species differently. Creating a universal treatment seemed impossible. "We need to target the disease itself, not its symptoms," Lisa realized after a week of failed attempts. "Human immune systems have unique properties we can replicate artificially." Earth scientists sent their latest research on programmable antibodies, a technology still experimental but promising. Alliance engineers provided nanoscale manufacturing capabilities beyond anything available on Earth. Working together, they created what Peter called universal immunoglobulin, synthetic antibodies that could adapt to different physiologies while targeting the Voidborn plague. The first treatments were deployed to Centauri Prime. The results were immediate and dramatic. Recovery rates jumped from 10% to 80% within days. As the treatment spread throughout Alliance space, the pandemic began to recede. "Your species has saved billions of lives," Nevra told Lisa. "The Voidborn expected this attack to cripple us." "Humans have been fighting diseases for our entire history," Lisa replied. "It made us stronger." The Voidborn responded with increased military aggression. Attacks on Alliance outposts doubled, then tripled. Intelligence reports suggested they were shifting resources from all across their territory for a major offensive. Alliance. High Command called an emergency strategy session. Representatives from all member species gathered to plan their response. For the first time, humans had equal standing at the table. "We believe the Voidborn are targeting these systems," said the Alliance strategic commander, highlighting 12 star systems on the galactic map. "We cannot defend them all simultaneously." "Then we don't play defense," John suggested. "We strike at their command structure." It was a radical proposal. The Alliance had always fought reactively, responding to Voidborn movements rather than initiating conflict. The risk seemed too great. "How would you even locate their command centers?" asked a Voxian general. "We have tried for centuries." Lisa stepped forward. "The captured Voidborn provided information about their hierarchy. They operate like a nervous system, with critical nodes that coordinate their forces." The debate lasted hours. Eventually, a compromise was reached. The Alliance would maintain defensive positions at key systems, while a small strike force would attempt to locate and neutralize a Voidborn command node. John volunteered to lead the mission. Frank, Amy, and 50 other human soldiers would join him, along with specialists from other Alliance species who had trained in human tactics. "This is unprecedented," Commander Zixtal told John privately after the meeting. "No Alliance force has ever penetrated deep into Voidborn territory. There's a first time for everything," John replied. The strike team trained for a month, focusing on stealth and sabotage rather than direct combat. They would use a captured Voidborn vessel, modified by Alliance engineers and human technicians, to slip past enemy patrols. Private Dennis Morgan, a former auto mechanic from Detroit, proved invaluable during the preparations. He had an intuitive understanding of machinery, even alien technology. His modifications to the captured ship made it faster and more maneuverable while masking its energy signature. "How did you figure this out?" an Alliance engineer asked him. Dennis shrugged. Just reminds me of tuning racing engines back home. Different tech, same principles. Lieutenant Kelly Winters established a new division focused on psychological warfare. By studying void-born communication patterns, she developed methods to broadcast false signals that could confuse enemy forces. They think as a collective, she explained to the strike team. If we disrupt that collective thought, they become disorganized. The mission launched with little fanfare. The modified void-born ship slipped away from the Alliance flagship, disappearing into the darkness of space. Their destination was the Cygnus X region, where intelligence suggested a major void-born command node was hidden. The journey took 2 weeks. The strike team maintained complete communication silence, knowing that any transmission could reveal their presence. They passed through void-born patrols undetected, their disguised ship ignored by enemy vessels. "We're approaching the target zone," John announced as they entered the Cygnus system. Final equipment check. The team had trained for every contingency they could imagine. Each member carried modified weapons designed by Alliance and human engineers working together. Their armor combined Voxian protective plates with human flexibility and comfort. Scans of the system revealed a massive structure orbiting a dead star. It pulsed with energy readings unlike anything they had seen before. "That's it," Lisa confirmed from the flagship, where she monitored the mission through a secure quantum link. "The command node. Its energy signature matches what we found in the captured Voidborn's neural patterns." The strike team approached cautiously. The Voidborn structure had minimal defenses. They had never expected enemies to find it, let alone attack. "Remember," John told his team as they prepared to board, "we plant the disruptors and leave. No heroics." But war rarely follows plans. As they approached the structure, alarm signals echoed through the Voidborn networks. Their disguise had finally been detected. "We're blown," Frank reported. Enemy ships converging from all directions. John made a quick decision. New plan. Full assault. Plant the disruptors at all costs. The strike team launched from their ship, using personal thrusters to cross the void to the Voidborn structure. Enemy fighters swarmed around them, firing energy weapons that burned through space. The humans led the way, using tactics developed on Earth and refined in Alliance training. They moved in coordinated groups, covering each other as they pushed toward the structure's entry points. This, John thought as energy beams flashed past him, is why humans are the deadliest warriors in the universe, not because we're stronger or faster, but because we never, ever give up. The battle at the Voidborn command node was fierce. Energy weapons flashed across the void of space as the human-led strike team fought their way inside the massive structure. The interior was alien and disorienting. Curved walls that seemed to shift and change, gravity that fluctuated without warning. "Stay together," John ordered as they pushed deeper. "Teams of 3 watch each other's backs." Frank led Alpha Team down one corridor while Amy took Bravo Team through another. The plan was to place disruption devices at key points throughout the structure, targeting the node's communication systems. "Contact front." Frank's voice crackled over the comm. "Heavy resistance." John and his team rushed to provide support. They rounded a corner to find Frank's team pinned down by 6 Voidborn fighters. These weren't like the ones they'd faced before. They were larger, with multiple limbs that ended in energy weapons fused to their bodies. "Guardians," said Krell, a Krull warrior on John's team. "Elite Voidborn defenders. Very few have ever seen them and lived." John analyzed the situation quickly. Split and flank, standard human tactics. What happened next would later become legendary in Alliance military history. John's team executed a perfect flanking maneuver, using the shifting architecture of the Voidborn structure as cover. They attacked from 3 directions simultaneously, confusing the Guardians who were used to enemies that attacked head-on. 2 Guardians fell immediately. The others turned to face the new threats, giving Frank's team the opening they needed to advance and place their disruption device. "Alpha device planted," Frank reported. 2 minutes to activation. Across the structure, similar battles played out. The mixed species teams, trained in human combat methods, adapted to the changing environment and overwhelming opposition. They took casualties. 3 humans and 2 Alliance fighters died in the first 10 minutes, but they kept pushing forward. Amy's team reached the central chamber, a vast spherical room filled with pulsing black tendrils that connected to a floating orb in the center. "This is it," she said, studying the orb. "The command core, just like Lisa described." She began planting the main disruption device, a compact quantum bomb designed to sever the Voidborn command network. As she worked, more Guardians poured into the chamber from multiple entrances. "Bravo, team. We need backup at the core," she called into her comm. John arrived with reinforcements just as Amy finished arming the device. "Time to go," he ordered. "Fall back to extraction point." But retreat wouldn't be easy. The structure had begun to react to their presence. Corridors, ceiling, and new passages opening. The Voidborn defenders coordinated their attacks with increasing precision, as if the structure itself was directing them. "The command node is fighting back," John realized. "It's learning our patterns." The strike team adopted irregular movements, never using the same tactic twice. When energy barriers appeared to block their path, human engineers found ways to short-circuit them. When gravity shifted to pin them against walls, they used it to their advantage, letting the increased force strengthen their weapon impacts. Meanwhile, on the Alliance flagship, Lisa monitored the mission through their quantum link. She noticed something alarming in the data feeds. "The disruption devices aren't properly synchronized," she told Commander Zixtal. "If they detonate out of sequence, they'll only damage the node, not destroy it." "Can you fix it remotely?" Zixtal asked. Lisa shook her head. "Someone needs to manually reset the main device's timing sequence. It requires physical access to the core." The commander opened a channel to John, explaining the situation. "You must retreat now," he ordered. "We'll find another way." John looked at his team, battered and exhausted from the fighting. They had already lost 8 humans and 5 aliens. The mission was on the verge of failure. "Peter," he called to the doctor who had accompanied them to treat casualties. "Can you reset the device?" Peter nodded grimly. "Yes, but I'd need to stay with it until detonation. There wouldn't be time to escape." John considered their options. The Alliance had been fighting the Voidborn for centuries without a decisive victory. This command node controlled Voidborn forces across an entire sector. Destroying it would save billions of lives. "I'll do it," Peter said before John could respond. "I know exactly what needs to be done." The decision was made. John ordered the team to fall back while Peter returned to the central chamber. The doctor moved swiftly through the battle-scarred corridors, dodging Guardians and using the medical training that had once saved lives to now ensure the mission's success. In the core chamber, Peter worked quickly to reset the disruption device. The timing was critical. All devices needed to detonate within milliseconds of each other to create a cascade effect that would sever the Voidborn network. "Devices synchronized," he reported over the comm. "Detonation in 2 minutes. Get out of there," John ordered, knowing it was probably impossible. "Take care of my patients," Peter replied calmly, "and tell Lisa her research made this possible." The strike team fought their way back to their ship, holding off waves of Voidborn attackers. As they launched away from the structure, John watched through the viewport, counting down the seconds. The explosion was unlike anything they had seen before. It began as a small point of light at the center of the Voidborn structure, then expanded in a sphere of energy that seemed to fold space itself. When it faded, the command node was gone, leaving only scattered debris. Throughout the sector, reports flooded in of Voidborn ships suddenly stopping mid-attack, drifting aimlessly in space. Without the command node to direct them, they had become disorganized and ineffective. The trip back to Alliance space was somber. They had achieved their mission, but at a terrible cost. Peter's sacrifice weighed heavily on everyone, especially the humans who had served with him. Upon their return, the Alliance High Command declared the mission a historic victory. For the first time in the centuries-long war, they had struck a decisive blow against the Voidborn. In recognition of the achievement, Commander Zixtal, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Alliance Forces, established the Interspecies Combat Academy on Earth. John was appointed as its first director, tasked with training a new generation of fighters in human combat methods. The war is far from over, Zixtal told him during the ceremony. But thanks to your species, we now have hope of winning it. 6 months later, a new Alliance vessel was commissioned. Unlike other ships designed for specific species, this one was built to accommodate mixed crews trained in human-developed tactics. Its name, displayed proudly on the hull, was Dr. Peter Collins. Lisa stood beside John at the launch ceremony, watching as the Collins prepared for its maiden voyage. The ship's crew was unlike any in Alliance history, humans serving alongside aliens as equals, each contributing their unique strengths to a unified force. Your species has changed how we fight, Nevra told them as the ship's engines powered up. Before humans joined us, we fought wars. Now we win them. In a secure chamber deep within Voidborn territory, the remaining command nodes analyzed the destruction of their Cygnus counterpart. The data stream showed something disturbing. A species that fought not with overwhelming strength or speed, but with unpredictable tactics and unyielding determination. The Void Lords, ancient intelligences that guided their kind, reached a consensus. This new enemy, these humans, presented a threat unlike any they had encountered in thousands of years of conquest. For the first time, the Voidborn felt something akin to fear. John looked out at the stars as the Collins disappeared into the distance. He thought about Peter, about all those who had sacrificed in this war. He thought about how humans, despite being physically unremarkable compared to their alien allies, had changed the course of a galactic conflict. It wasn't superior strength, speed, or technology that made humans the deadliest warriors in the universe. It was their adaptability, their determination, and their willingness to stand together, not just with other humans, but with anyone who fought alongside them. Ready for the next challenge? Lisa asked, joining him at the viewport. John nodded. Always. That's what humans do. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the Voidborn prepared to face an enemy they were only beginning to understand. An enemy that never stopped, never surrendered, and never fought alone. The deadliest warriors in the universe had joined the war, and nothing would ever be the same again.